The other story, we talked to General Newton about this earlier, you get the United States accepting a record number of refugees. There's a new report out on that. Why? Our next guest says this is a very dangerous move. News alert here on travel. Jeff Flock was talking about the 4th of July travel a moment ago, but another story that certainly plays into that and how we view that is the United States, according to a new report, admitting refugees at a record pace. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann is with us now. This is a surge that could get us to 10,000, that number, Lieutenant Colonel, by September, I believe. So that's, quicker than many would think. Is it the pace that bothers you and some others, or is it just the idea that we're allowing these refugees in at all?
Well, thanks for having me on, Connell. It's more than just the pace. I don't think that we're going about this in a responsible or pragmatic way. I mean, if we want to see where this thing is going to go, Connell, let's look at what's happened in Western Europe with Brussels and Paris and now most recently Istanbul. I mean, we know for a fact that one of the Paris attackers came into that country under the guise as a Syrian refugee. We know that ISIS is directing stealth jihad into Western Europe and the United States, known as Hijra. The CIA director has warned most recently that they're going to try and move fighters into the country. And Director Comey of the FBI, Colin, has said, we cannot vet all these folks. So how in the world we can try to push for a goal of 10,000? It just makes no sense to me. And I think most Americans watching this would agree with that.
I think you're the third guest that we've had just on this show that has felt that way just in the last hour and a half or so. I guess the counter to all of that is that the United States is a little bit different than Europe. People would say we're protected. The old saying always goes by the oceans. The authorities at least would argue that we are better at vetting these people than other countries are, and we don't have, as much as we have a debate about immigration, open borders like Europe does. We check people coming in more than they would, say, going from Belgium to France or something like that. What do you say to those arguments?
I just don't buy them. I think maybe there was a time when we could rely on the oceans to protect us, but I think that we've seen just through the inspiration that ISIS is able to project across the oceans with the attack by Omar Mateen in Orlando, that's just a false sense of security. That's a head in the sand kind of approach. What's going on in Western Europe is going to make its way here, and it's the leadership of Americans stepping up and demanding that our politicians take action here that's going to change that. Otherwise, I think we're on the same path they are.
Problem, I guess, to some extent, is that some of it we just can't stop by, and maybe the two just aren't related, but it's not like, the Orlando killer, for example, he's born here. I mean, there are issues we have to deal with in our own country, right, in addition to all this?
Absolutely. And, I travel all over the country talking on this issue to town halls and conventions, moms, dads, grandmothers, shop owners. And, to the man and to the woman, Americans are so frustrated with just the leadership that we're seeing here. This is a leadership issue, but it really, leadership starts with us. We have to demand that our politicians, regardless of party, take this threat seriously and stop advancing a political agenda that we can look at Western Europe and see how risky it is. It makes no sense. And at a gut, visceral level, right, I think it's time in this election year that we call them on it.
Colonel Mann, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a big topic. And